Do you want to miss the opportunity to save some money on processing payments? As a business owner, that's like making sales. David Bull of FeeBeaters is going to give us 3 tips on how to save money processing payments. Thanks so much for sharing your knowledge with us, Dave. What's tip number 1?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on. Tip number 1, if you're on a fixed rate program, banks like these days, the Square, they charge 2.65. The banks are emulating that. Stripe is charging 2.9, and so is PayPal. If you're on any one of those things, get off those. They are expensive. You do not need to be paying that kind of money. What we do is we put all of our clients on a cost plus pricing program. We take the fees that Visa and MasterCard charge to the entire industry in Canada, no exceptions. And we add our fee. That's what you get charged with. To give you an example of how big of a difference this is, with us, for a straightforward transaction in a retail store, you should not be charged any more than 2.1% on average. Online transaction, 2.2. Now compare that to the 2.65 that the Square charges you, and 2.65 that the banks are going to charge you for that same transaction, or even worse. If it's an online transaction with the Square, you're going to be charged 3.5%. Now, do you want to pay 3.5% or 2.2? By the way, Stripe and also PayPal, they're going to charge you 2.9. So again, do you want to pay 2.9 or 2.2?
And that's usually what you're facing with those fixed rates. What's
That's correct.
Tip number 2?
Tip number 2 is check your classification. Insist that your classification of a business is being used to represent your organization. And the reason why I say that is that Visa and MasterCard have got over 30 different kinds of classifications where they charge lower rates. Now, remember, we're only charging cost plus, so it's always on the lower rate. So you're going to save even more money. I'll give you an example of that. A bakery, the charge that you should be accepting for normal stuff for a rewards card, Visa Rewards, 1.5% in your business. Again, compare that to the Square, which is 2.65. Big difference. It's the same difference if you're dealing with a bank. But those are the kinds of things that we do.
Now, what's tip number 3?
Tip number 3 is read your bank statement. Now, your merchant statement, not your bank statement, your merchant statement. Now, on your merchant statement, they will have upcoming events like increases in pricing. Now, if they do, in fact, increase their price to you, they're supposed to give you 90 days notice. If they are increasing that price and it's not related to anything that Visa and MasterCard are doing in their rates, you have the right as a merchant, it's called a Canadian Code of Conduct. You have a right as a merchant to get away from that processor. If you lease equipment, it even applies to your lease. So if you're locked into a 3-year lease with 2 years left to go, and they do something funny with your rates, you have the right to move away. If they do not give you the benefit of any reductions, or if they increase prices without any reason at all from Visa or MasterCard, you can break those contracts, and there's nothing that the processor can do. They are not allowed to charge you any cancellation fees or any penalties of any kind, and you do have the option of getting out of a lease if you've leased equipment.
So the 3 tips: 1, get off the fixed payment, find out if your business classification is correct, and read your statement every month.
That's correct.
David, thank you so much for sharing that knowledge. I think it's going to help a lot of people.
Thank you. I do too. Appreciate the time.